you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. As we continue to give God thanks for life, I am Julian Skeet.
And I am Rhea Richardson George. And this is the day that the Lord has made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it. Good morning to you, Tobago. Good morning, Trinidad. Those of you in the Caribbean and those of you on the live, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Rhea, this morning. And how are you doing this morning? You seem to have had an eventful night. That energy is quite high this morning. Is everything okay, Rhea? All right, viewers, at this point we head straight on into our news in 90 seconds.
Julian, I am Bianna Brebner, and here is your news in 90 seconds for Tuesday, 18 July 2023, brought to you by Flow. A third case of monkeypox was reported in Trinidad yesterday. According to the Ministry of Health, the patient is a young adult male with a travel history. The patient was placed into isolation and contact tracing has begun. The first 2 cases of monkeypox were reported in Trinidad last week. The fraud squad visited THA offices yesterday, namely the Division of Education, Research and Technology and the Division of Tourism, Culture, Antiquities and Transportation in relation to the controversial audio clip. Eyewitnesses claim that officers were standing outside audit departments and advisor's office. It is alleged that over the weekend, several members of the THA were visited by police officers and had their devices seized. Meanwhile, officers assured the public that information would be made available when necessary. Former Commissioner of Police Gary Griffith and Attorney Martin George have questioned the Prime Minister's idea of a vetted unit of the police service. Griffith described the creation of these units as senseless since the exercise of rooting out dishonest police officers in the service was already in place while he was Commissioner of Police. Meanwhile, George, a former member of the Police Service Commission, expressed worry over the anticipated raise in compensation for officers in the unit. He believes instead of curbing corruption in the police department, this may instead exacerbate it. Congratulations going out to the Tobagonian team who won the inaugural Baking Wizard competition hosted by the White-Up Institute of Culinary Arts. And that was your news in 90 seconds.
The news in 90 seconds is brought to you by Flow, working for you on Tobago's newest fiber network.
Tobago, after freeness is more speed and better TV. Get a free Samsung smartphone and free installation, plus 200 megabits per second, Paramount Plus, and more for only $299 with a select 200 plan from Flow. Visit online at discoverflow.co today.
Welcome back, viewers, and we head straight on into our birthday shout-out, sponsored by KFC.
This is your birthday shoutouts on Tobago Updates, sponsored by KFC.
And we start things up this morning celebrating our very good friend, Ryan O'Neill. Ryan O'Neill, we work together in the media fraternity here in Tobago. Happy birthday going out to you, Ryan, from Julian and myself and from most of us here at Tobago Updates.
The entire team wishing you the very best. Happy birthday.
And this is my niece, Tamika Rhea George. That beautiful name there, Tamika Rhea George, celebrating her birthday today. And lots of love going out to you, Tamika, from Uncle Oswald, myself and the family, and all of us here at Tobago Updates. Have a great one.
Birthday shoutouts on Tobago Updates, sponsored by KFC.
From the experts that created the Zinger sandwich comes the KFC Crispy Barbecue Zinger. cheddar cheese, crispy onions, the most delicious Kentucky Fried Chicken, and barbecue sauce. Get ready for a whole new level of flavor.
All right, well, welcome back, viewers. Welcome back this morning to the Tobago Updates Morning Show. I just wanted to, inform our viewers or remind our viewers, just about a week and a half ago, my uncle, Ray Reynolds Richardson, passed away. The funeral service will take place tomorrow. That's Wednesday, the 19th, July 2023, at 11 a.m. at the Mount Grace Open Bible Standard Church. From 10:30 in the morning, 10:30 tomorrow morning, tributes would be running via the media setup at the church, and so from 11 o'clock things should start. And this is again sending condolences to my entire family here in Tobago, Trinidad, and out in the U.S. Now, 3 brothers would have come here from Trinidad many years ago, and I'm hearing so many stories about the Little Goose Boys, and they were certainly still, my daddy's still here, thank God, they were certainly the Little Goose Boys. So it was Reynolds Richardson, who passed away about a week and a half ago, my uncle Walter, most of you would be familiar with Arcadia Record Shop, and my dad, who is still around. So that's just some information for the general public out there. And again, God's peace, and we covered your prayers at this time, and God's peace and strength even during this season of our lives.
Ray said your dad who's still around, but not everybody would know him as dad. Some may know his name.
That's right. So, I'm sorry. So that is Elton Richardson. And, a lot of persons refer to the brothers as Rays. Now, Rays is not the surname. In fact, the only person who carries the name Ray is my cousin Christopher. He's Christopher Ray Richardson. Yes. My uncle, who was called Ray, is actually Reynolds Richardson. And, in Trinidad and Tobago, we just cut the name short and we just give them a shortened name.
Because I feel like definitely Ray's is the brand.
Well, Ray's is definitely the brand. So people come and say, I'm looking for Ray's. Who are you looking for? I'm looking for the one that does the signs. Okay, we know where to send you. Right. We're looking for the one that does the piercings. We know where to send you. We're looking for the one that does the photography. We know where to send you. We're looking for one that repairs the bags. We know where to send you. So...
All right, certainly with the combination there, and our prayers continue to go out to the entire family at this time. Treating with a loss is always a challenge, but certainly there's nothing more in these circumstances than really continuing to pray and seek that guidance in these times. All right, viewers, at this point we're heading straight on over to Tobago in
Mediation is used as an alternative to litigation through the use of an impartial moderator and communication and negotiation techniques. The Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection established its mediation unit in 2009 and has steadily expanded. The unit, equipped with 2 certified mediators, has since settled several matters, including landlord and tenant issues, merchant-customer disputes, property and land, parenting, and even issues regarding the running of traditional susus. Assistant Coordinator at the Mediation Unit, Carol Spencer Edwards, further explains.
We deal with family and relationship disputes, neighborhood conflicts, community disputes, juvenile conflicts. So the range of issues are there, and as I said, we try to offer persons that option as against going to the court.
Ms. Spencer Edwards revealed a high success rate between 70 and 75%, noting that a large part of the unit's success lies with the process, as persons are allowed to speak freely in a safe and comfortable environment.
Quite often the issues that they deal with or that they're dealing with is not out of the ballpark. It's just that maybe sometimes not able to sit and express themselves. And sometimes you need somebody there to say, here's what, let's start with, or hold up, give her a minute, or hold up, give him a minute.
The recent addition of a therapeutic counseling unit manned by 8 counselors has further expanded services, including a crisis hotline, parenting workshop, grief counseling, life skill coaching, marriage counseling, and learning enrichment programs. Services can be accessed through its walk-in services or by referral.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. As we continue this morning, we're heading straight on into our first segment. We will be chatting with Clyde Weatherhead, and we will be speaking this morning as we chat on the Tobago House of Assembly and the TTPS Voice Gate investigation. And Clyde Weatherhead is an attorney at law and former PSA president. And we should have him on the line at this point. Good morning to you, Clyde Weatherhead.
Hi, good morning, and good morning to your viewing public.
All right, good morning to you. So as we get the conversation started this morning, we want to firstly get a sense from you, is this something new? You have, been based on your experience and your expertise, the entry of what is now this very controversial, as is being commonly referred to as voice gate and this voice tape associated with officials within the Tobago House of Assembly. What were what was your initial take as this entered the public domain?
Well, there were different aspects to this. One was the fact that there was no response by the Chief Secretary. I wrote a Facebook page on that, and I sent a letter to the newspapers. And subsequently, the CHS Chief Sec, he did respond. And the issues that arise there is that this was a recording which he confirmed was a recording of himself and others speaking about a matter which possibly is a legal issue in the sense that it can be seen as a conspiracy to operate outside of the law in terms of the use of public funds for private gain. Question of conspiracy doesn't require that something is actually carried out. You and I can plan to do something, but we end up not doing it. But the fact is we have planned.
Okay. Mr. Weatherhead, Police Commissioner Earl Christopher had indicated that there would be an investigation into this matter. We've seen over the weekend where police officers have been searching the homes and properties of several of the secretaries or assemblymen of the Tobago House of Assembly. I want you to speak this morning to the legality, the concern maybe that assemblymen, members of the public, the legality of this search.
Well, first of all, the question is that the police have powers to search, and those powers, there are provisions in both the Summary Courts Act and the Indictable Offences Act for obtaining and carrying out warrants for and carrying out searches at private premises. First of all, the police have to apply for a search warrant.
Just before you go on, let me just clarify here. Let me just allow me to clarify. Not assemblymen, but rather THA officials. THA officials, not assemblymen.
Oh, okay. So like public officers
yes.
or employees of the THA.
Yes.
Well, if this matter arose out of the voice note or the recording, which the Chief Sec has confirmed, what is the... First of all, I am puzzled as to why a THA employee would be involved in any police investigation. Is it that an employee is going to say that he was present and heard THA elected officials having a strategy meeting? What is the purpose? And if they wanted to find that out, if somebody was present, then all the police would have to do is question the person. How does a search of somebody's premises take that any further in that respect? So what are the police searching for? Are they searching for the voice, the recording? is the recording not available otherwise, and the police could simply ask for it, or they have it, in fact, because I keep hearing portions of it being released on the news, so it's available somewhere. So it's not necessarily in somebody's house. I understand that some laptop was seized by the police, and certainly we have that would bring up the memory of certain laptops and phones and so on of government officials being seized by the police previously in Trinidad. But the question is that the police have to first obtain a search warrant. They have to go on oath, swear an affidavit to point out that there is an offense which they are investigating, and there's certain evidence which they believe can be found at a particular residence, and the officer is named, and the named officer has to be present. And if the police come to search your premises, they must read the warrant to you, and you can allow them in. If you don't allow them in, they have authority to break down your outer door in order to access your property. But the question is, has the search warrant been legally obtained? And that issue came up in several cases over the last few years, including a matter involving the Express newspaper, when there was a search carried out there where the police were looking for the source that provided information to the newspaper for the production of an article, which really was a violation of the newspaper's principle of protecting sources. Then there was the raid on Jagriti radio and TV station, and the court eventually had to tell the police commissioner he must produce the warrant to the radio station when they had refused to show the warrant. So the obtaining of the warrant in the first place has to be based on fact, has to be based on probable evidence, and the warrant can be issued by a magistrate or a judge. We have had a case in the past where JPs are issuing warrants, and JPs are not legally trained people. And in one case, a JP agreed to a search warrant, but the warrant was very deficient legally. And the High Court judge who was dealing with that case, he made the point that there was need to update the law and the police standing orders and regulations in respect of obtaining search warrants. So the question here is, has the warrant been properly obtained? And was the search itself legal in the sense of how it was carried out?
What becomes in the circumstances that we're currently faced with, it is alleged that the individuals in question that would have been able to bring it to this point, specific at that for a warrant to be issued, it is alleged that it must require the input of our top officials to get it to this stage. From where you sit as an attorney, how does one advance to the stage of being able to have a warrant to do such? Just for the information and education of the public.
Involve anybody in the THA. The police said they were investigating the matter because there was a public broadcasting of this recording. So the police investigation doesn't have to come from anybody inside of the THA. There was a call by the minority leader for the police to investigate. And I don't know that the minority leader can direct the police to do anything. He's an elected official, so he has no business directing the police in the first place. He has no authority to direct the police. He can, like many politicians, make calls for the police to investigate this or that, email gate and all these things. Many people call for it, but no politician could have told the police to actually go and investigate the matter.
Mr. There's some who say that this is making that the minority is making a mountain out of a molehill, that they are suggesting something that is a non-issue in some opinions. What do you say to that? I'm looking at the live here, and there's some of our viewers on the live who simply do not agree. This one says, "I don't know why this sounds like a joke to me, or am I missing something? Is there an issue, or is it a mountain being made out of a molehill?"
Well, like I said initially, the only legal issue involved in that recording is, were people discussing using public funds for private gain, meaning that would be corruption, and whether that is something that has to be investigated. Well, certainly the chief sec has said that the recording was correct. It was live. It was him. And so what are the police investigating? Are they investigating that what was said was correct? Well, the chief sec said so. So I don't know what they're investigating in that direction. Are they trying to find out who was at the meeting? Then you go and you ask the chief sec who was there. He already said publicly, I was there, and we were having a strategy meeting. So who was there? What are you searching people's homes for? To determine who was at a meeting? If it was an official meeting, there would be minutes. So that doesn't have to be present in anybody's house. So the question is, was there a conspiracy to use public funds for private gain? And that question, you bring in people, you question them, and I don't, unless they want to see whether it was carried out. And if it was carried out, the question there was, do we hire people to do propaganda for the on behalf of some of the elected members of the THA? And certainly you can speak to the THA officials in respect of have people been hired, ask for records whether they were hired, and if they were hired, those records are in the offices of the THA. They're not in somebody's house. That's not a private transaction.
Would you say that it is possible that these are the targets that are currently happening by the police in terms of through the warrant and the searches taking place is in an effort to try to provide some proof as it relates to the issue of confirming that public funds would have been spent in an effort to promote propaganda?
Well, the spending of public funds is a matter of public accounting, and the THA records would deal with the spending of public funds. THA records are not in anybody's private home, they're in the offices of the THA. So even if it was necessary to search for records in terms of spending of the THA, then the place to go is to the THA. It's not in anybody's home. So the question here is, like I said, was the warrant or were the warrants properly obtained? Is there an offense which the police are saying they are seeking evidence of? And are they saying that there are specific items that they believe is present in somebody's house? And were they then granted the warrant on that basis? Did they go to the homes? Did they read the warrant to the persons? Did they conduct the search properly? Have they recorded what they seized, and so on and so on? Those are all matters within the issue of the legality of a search. And therefore, what is the search really for a proper purpose? In the express case, the question was, in the court matter, was this a proper reason to search somebody's offices? This is a newspaper, and newspapers have certain protection under our constitution, and certainly the question of protection of sources, and is the police business to try and determine who is a newspaper source, and the court frowned on that. So what really is the purpose of these searches? If it is some kind of political vendetta, then certainly the persons whose homes were searched can make complaints to the court, just like Jagriti and Express and a gentleman whose home was searched in Point Kumana and by the Telecommunications Authority and the police because they thought he had radio communications equipment. So it has the possibility that if there was an improper search, that the persons who are affected should raise this matter with the court.
Okay. I want to thank you this morning, Mr. Weatherhead, for taking the time to chat with us this morning on these issues. And we heard the information that you shared. We heard what you had to say with regards to the legality of the police doing their job based on information that they would have, based on the necessary steps that they would have had to take. My question to you this morning is, with all that we've heard this morning, is there what is the way forward? What is the next step? What in terms of these officials, what should be their next step?
Well, like I said, the courts of Trinidad and Tobago are there to deal with issues of this nature. If someone feels that their rights were violated, then you go to the court. If elected officials were subject to search, and it happened in the case of the Kamala Prasad Bisesa and others whose phones and laptops were seized by the police, they went to court and the court dealt with it. But if somebody is an elected official, if they are a politician and they feel aggrieved by a search, they're also politicians and they also can speak to the public and they can raise their voice. But ultimately, whether a search is legal or illegal, whether it is proper, whether it is a matter of some improper police behavior, these matters have to be taken to the court and the court has to decide these matters. And that can be urgent hearings on these matters have been asked for in the past and they've been dealt with urgently. And certainly if something is seized from you by an improper or illegal search, then you are entitled to damages in terms of compensation and so on. So all these matters, like I say, particularly those who are not elected officials of the THA, whose homes are searched, they should be speaking to their lawyers or should have been since the weekend.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time this morning to chat with us on these issues. And the viewers, we just chatted there with Mr. Clyde Weatherhead, attorney at law, former PSA president, on the issue of the THA and the TTPS VoiceGate investigation. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Interesting perspectives being expressed here, and coming from the attorney in terms of suggestions that considerations ought to be given to whether or not, and how the warrant would have been obtained. I suppose very, very, very interesting indeed. It's almost as though this matter continues to develop one upon the other, and we're looking to see what the ultimate outcome is really going to be in the circumstances surrounding this entire audio tape that came out some time ago.
One of the questions being asked, Julian, is planning a strategy in a meeting corruption? I need someone to help me to make sense of this. And audit shows corruption. I heard nothing about investigation. Planning a strategy is corruption, really. And we heard the chief speak to the issue that there was a strategy meeting, there was a planning meeting. Is it that what happens in a strategy meeting, shouldn't it remain confidential? Shouldn't it remain within the four walls of the meeting space?
Well, I think the bigger issue that's being raised here if the conversation seemed to have suggested, and that's what the attorney was just alluding to, conspiracy to defraud in some way, form, or fashion. So, based on what he would have said, even if you don't carry it out, whether or not the conversation seemed to suggest that, but I'm not exactly sure, and we'd really have to wait to see what the TTPS, how far that goes in the context of really determining as to whether or not this was a conspiracy of sorts, or whether or not these actions did take place, in the circumstances. But it's a very interesting development, because it was the Chief Secretary also made statements when he spoke on the occasion, indicating that this kind of action or engagement, has been used by many other political parties prior. But I suspect the big difference in the circumstances that some would say there was no audio recording of that of sorts. So it will be very interesting to see what the outcome is here in these circumstances.
Yep.
All right. So viewers, we prepare to head into further discussions this morning as we speak about eating habits. What's eating the children? And we'll be chatting with Rodney Pigott, chairman of the Tobago CivilNet, and Dr. Darlene Harris, pediatrician of the Pediatric Society of Trinidad and Tobago. So we look forward to those upcoming discussions. We want to remind you that this is your opportunity to share the live, share the live, share the live.
Inner Health, number 13B, Portmore, Scarborough, Tobago, with over 25 years experience offering services in and not limited to microscopic blood analysis, reflexology, and the sale of a wide range of organic herbal products used to supplement thyroid, lymphatic, heart, kidney, and brain health, and the male and female reproductive systems. Come and chat with us. Remember, your health is your wealth.
This is how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show, and everybody's gonna know. Say it to them once again. They better look up below. This is your show, and everybody's gonna know. That's how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show. Live more.
Come one, come all. It's time to join in the Tobago Heritage Festival 2023. Homage. All are we, and all are who we be. To Tobago. Indulge in the awesomeness that is embodied in the spirit of Tobago at the 36th Tobago Heritage Festival. Celebrate a rich, vibrant, hypnotic showcase of our cultural legacy. Yes, from July 21st to August 1st, 2023. Take the island tour. Sample the sumptuous variety of local indigenous delicacies. Enjoy the recreation of old-time village life. Dance to the drum. Feel the rhythm of steel pan. Experience the way of life, languages, and oral traditions. Be part of the journey to our we heritage, honoring our past, celebrating our present, and inspiring our future. Relive our unique culture. Join in the preservation of the heritage of we island of Tobago.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
So we are chatting this morning with Rodney Pigott, chairman of the Tobago CivilNet. And this morning we're going to have joining us virtually Dr. Darlene Harris, who is a pediatrician and of the Pediatric Society of Trinidad and Tobago. Now, before we chat with Dr. Darlene Harris, I wanted to speak to Mr. Pigott and really speak to CivilNet and what CivilNet has been doing, or Tobago CivilNet to be specific, has been doing within the Tobago space. And I have to congratulate Mr. Pigott and his team because not only does CivilNet focus on governance, good governance in Trinidad and Tobago, particularly in Tobago, but it's all about educating its viewers and people on different and varying issues in our lives. So I wanted to commend you this morning on that.
Thank you. And I will definitely pass those kudos on to our members, particularly our young people. That's part of Tobago CivilNet because a lot of them drive the mission that we're doing, and they push the mission that we're doing. All right? So I have to pass the kudos on to them.
Thank you. Keep up the good work. Joining us virtually is Dr. Darlene Harris, and she's a very passionate pediatrician with more than 10 years of experience in her field. Dr. Harris has her own pediatric practice under the banner Kiddie Health. Dr. Harris is a member of the Pediatric Society of Trinidad and Tobago, as well as an international member of the auspicious American Academy of Pediatrics and its section on child development and behavioral pediatrics. Dr. Harris, good morning and welcome to our program.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me. Good morning, Tobago.
All right. Now, let's talk a little bit here about, in terms of what you do. You're a pediatrician.
Pediatrician.
Pediatrician, that's the term. Pediatrician. I don't know where my mind is this morning. You're a pediatrician. And when we speak to issues surrounding our children, I realize that this time the focus is on what our children eat. Are we feeding the children to be successful or just to be full? Now, we live in a society, we live in an age where we don't have the time. In fact, we no longer have the time. It's about getting them fed as quickly as we can, so that we can move on to other things. And oftentimes, getting them fed the correct foods drops by the wayside. The aim is to ensure that their tummies are filled. Feed them, not about what they're being fed. So remind us here this morning of where along the way we did drop the ball.
I would say you hit the nail on the head. Basically, life has become fast, right? As parents, we no longer have the time. We are very, very caught up in all that is around us. And the thing about it is that where we drop the ball, we can't say because, we would have grown up differently to how this generation is growing. But it's because of the different modification and changes in lifestyle that has led us to this point where no longer are we promoting healthy eating with the fruits, the vegetables, healthy snacks. No longer are we cooking Monday, Sunday to Saturday. We buy a lot of food and buy a lot of junk food, for want of a better word, right? So it's not just about, the fast world, but also the choices we've made. And the choices we've made is also because of the various choices that we are exposed to. And that is where I would say the discrepancy, or as you said, where we drop the ball.
And how can we begin to pick up the ball? Because in the midst of the fast-paced life, our children are suffering. We find a lot of children. In fact, before I even say that, what would you say are the top three health concerns where children are concerned?
Wow, you're really making it narrow with 3 because there's so many health concerns. If you ask me for the top 10, I can just rattle that off.
Give us your 10. Give us your 10. Give us your 10.
Honestly, the top 3, I would say, one would be, so when you deal with health, for both adults and children, it has to be a holistic approach. And that is why I love the initiative and I love the drive being done by Tobago CivilNet, where they're looking at the holistic approach, the whole person. Because health is not just a disease. Health is not just being sick. And in the case of children, for many parents, we only get called when there's a cough and cold. But, those appointments and visits where you do the counseling and we do the conversations, those are the ones that they miss. But to zero in on the question you asked, it's more of just physical health, mental health, social, and emotional health. So top 3, I would say, would be broken down into those areas. You have to look at the physical health. So when you look at the physical health, definitely amongst children, although it's not considered as an ailment or you're not seeing your child actually sick, they actually are. So being obese, obesity, overweight, poor nutritional habits is one. May not be the top one, but definitely is one because it leads to other conditions such as diabetes, hypertension, cardiovascular disease. And what we don't know, it impacts on some of the chronic conditions we commonly see, such as asthma, for example, where asthma is exacerbated by obesity. You know, where our children who are obese that have asthma, we find that they are less controlled than the ones who are not. So definitely that is one aspect. The mental health, I know we weren't touching on it because we were more, focused on the whole nutritional aspect. But definitely I would say that mental health is very, very, very important in our children. And I think it's an area that is ignored because, we have this facade that all children are happy children. That's not true, right? A lot of our children are fighting silent battles in their heads, and because we are traditional society where, we are raised certain ways, they're scared to come to their parents just to say, well, mommy, daddy, this is how I feel, so their feelings are not taken into consideration a lot of times. And that is something that also needs to be addressed because we have a lot of children going into adolescence where the rates of depression, suicide, anxiety are very high, and we don't know this, and we are not recognizing this. So in synopsis, I know I didn't give you 3 diseases, but generally that is where we're looking at moving forward in the future to come.
Right. Let me chat a little bit here with Mr. Piggott, and I know that you would have contacted and made the arrangements here with Dr. Harris. Why focus on children at this time? And this is where we're heading. What's eating the children? Why the focus for CivilNet and our children at this point?
Right. Very good question. Our children are always at the forefront because they are the future. They are the ones that's coming up behind the generation that is now, and they're the ones that's going to be taking over and looking to innovate. So if our future is sick, if our future has an epidemic, as the World Health Organization points out, that obesity amongst children is now an epidemic. Epidemic. That's one step down from pandemic. So if our future is in that kind of shape, then the society, the growth of the society is impacted in a very, very, very real way, bad way. So our children are most important to us. In our African societies, children were considered like gold. The way you look at gold and diamonds now, that's how children were revered. They were like royalty to a family. We didn't beat our children. There's a way to socialize children and bring children up without traumatizing them with a whip. That's the habit we picked up on the plantation. That we hold on to proudly. I got beat, so I'm going to beat you. No, this is royalty. And if we treat our children as royalty, then we know what goes into the body of a royal person. And as Dr. Darlene will point out to you, it's not just about what the children are eating and how the children are functioning mentally and so forth. It's a family issue. And Dr. Darlene will expound on that. It's a family issue. So children are not going to eat healthy if the family is not eating healthy.
And that's a very interesting point.
And I just want to add on to what Mr. Piggott is saying. So walk with me on this one, right? If it is you have children at the age of 10, 11 being diagnosed with diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, and fast forward 10 years from then when it's their 20s and 30s, it's very unlikely. It will be great if it's reversed, but it's very unlikely to be reversed. So now you're going to get, in 10 years, a population that is heavily dense with conditions such as diabetes and hypertension, heart disease. The productivity of our society is going to drop because these people cannot work. They're going to be home. They're going to be missing work. It's going to be a problem. So there's going to be economic losses for our country. That's one aspect. The next aspect you have to look at is the burden on the health sector, where it's going to explode in 10 years. It's exploding now, gradually, I must say. But in 10 years, when these people become adults, it's going to explode. And then the burden on our health sector to provide for these non-communicable diseases, which could have been mitigated earlier on, it will be too late at that point, right? And then the third thing is that from a personal point of view, these persons will not be living their best lives. And the aim for any pediatrician would always be healthy, happy children for healthy, happy adults. And that is where the focus needs to be on. And as Mr. Pigott said, they can't do it alone. Children, responsibility is to learn, to have to play, right? And then they develop into adults. The responsibility comes on the parents and the extended family as a whole. So this is not a decision for the child to make, to say, well, okay, I am going to eat healthy. Yes, that may happen with adolescents, but it has to be a paradigm shift. It has to be a mindset change that comes not only from the child, but for it to come from the child, it has to come from the parents, and it has to be a family decision to make the change.
Much. Mr. Pigott, there is an opportunity for parents to get involved here and to get the correct information to begin to make the necessary changes. Tell us about that forum.
Tune in tomorrow on the Facebook page of Tobago CivilNet. It will be Zoomed. You will hear the lovely Dr. Darlene Harris. And you can tune into Tobago CivilNet, like our page, and we will be there. Or you can come into the Zoom room and enjoy and hear what Dr. Darlene has to say. And it's very important that you follow the instruction of our brother Kabesi. Bring pen and paper, because there will be a question and answer period at the end of her presentation.
That's right. There will be an opportunity, and again, for parents to get involved. And I know a lot of parents have your questions, you have your concerns. Write them down so that you'll be able to pose the questions to Dr. Darlene Harris at that forum. Again, it's happening tomorrow. And for further information, you can call Rodney Pigott's contact, and it's on the screen on that flyer. 323-1958 if you need any more information. Again, congratulations to you, Dr. Darlene Harris, and to the Tobago CivilNet. Thank you again for taking the time to chat with us this morning.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
All right, so viewers, that's just about to be. I want to thank you so much for joining us for this segment. We've got lots more coming up this morning on the Tobago Updates Morning Show. So share the live, share the live, share the live.
MI4 Security Services Company is the most advanced security service in Tobago. Ask about our cash in transit service. It's safe, risk-free, reliable, and timely. We provide safe banking delivery for all business types and sizes with highly trained staff, 24/7 monitoring, coordinated emergency response, and a well-maintained fleet of armored vehicles. Contact us at 660-7723 or visit our website at www.mi4securitytt.com to sign up today.
Are you flood ready? Review and update insurance coverage. Install floodgates and barriers. Create a family flood plan. An initiative to help people prevent, prepare, recover. TATIL, where people are people.
Right now, Tobagonians are just currying down to Bon Accord, right in Strawberry Local Road. You know why? To come down and shop at Authentic Builders General Hardware, the only hardware store in Tobago that is giving you guys Trinidad prices. So for instance, such as steel, 1/2 and 5/8, $7,895. 5/8 construction ply for $260. Every single thing that you will need to do your home renovation or start your new construction, we have it right here. And to get your quotation, it's very easy. Just WhatsApp us at 272-1990 and we will do your free WhatsApp quotation for you.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Wall in Scarborough, Tobago. We're just at about 7:48 a.m. this morning, and at this point, we're heading into our final segment, where we have the opportunity. We are talking Capture the Flag 2023 Scarborough Secondary School alumni. And this morning, we are chatting with Kevon McKenna, the president and lead for Capture the Flag 2023, and also the alumni president. Good morning to you and welcome.
Good morning to you. Welcome and welcome. And good morning to the viewers online.
All right. And I know just before we get into the details of Capture the Flag 2023, it's a bit of a sad moment. And yes, folks also are very proud as Scarborough Sec alumni, but a bit of a sad time for us acknowledging the passing of one of our very own brothers and classmates. And we just pull up the photo on screen.
Joshua Stewart, class of 2001, recently passed.
Yes, so certainly we want to send condolences going out to the family out there. Very fond memories for us coming out of 2001. And in fact, the entire Scarborough Secondary School alumni, so certainly sending condolences out there to the entire family on the passing of Joshua Stewart. And at this point, viewers, as we're talking Capture the Flag, and you know, Kevon, when we start that conversation and we're looking at Capture the Flag, I usually have to pull things back just a bit to speak to that historic perspective, this event that has really taken Tobago by storm far and wide. In fact, this event has seen other high schools work assiduously to build out even their own alumni and to host other activities and initiatives. So let's start from there in terms of that synopsis, you know, the birth of Capture the Flag and these efforts on the part of Scarborough Secondary School alumni.
Well, in 2016, the event launched, and from there, we pushed, encouraged, helped the other secondary schools on the island to start their alumni. Most schools did not have an alumni, or probably didn't even know what an alumni does. I think we only had one school that would have had an existing alumni when we started. So from there, it was a build every year, and it keep increasing. We kept increasing. We even assisted schools in Trinidad to encourage to start the alumni. Malik is one such school. And you say Tobago, but this year we actually expanded to Trinidad, where we hosted a Trinidad leg, and that actually incorporated 3 schools, and we had a visiting media team as well.
So that would have been my next question. We have seen Capture the Flag evolve from starting in its first year, the bringing together of schools here. Then we saw schools coming across in terms of joining in the competitive elements and so on. And now we are seeing fast track to this year. We even have a track element involved. Tell us a little bit about what I would describe as the evolution and the growth and development of Capture the Flag.
Mm-hmm. Well, incremental progress. Each year we have to look at, you know, what works, what didn't work, how we could improve, how we could add, because persons will come and throw a lot of ideas to you at the same time, and we have to look at how best this can fit in, if it can fit in. I think this year someone even messaged me and asked for all fours. I do have all fours Capture the Flag. So who knows? Right? These are things that you look at and see how it could happen and how it could benefit. Because everything you're doing has to go back to the benefit of the various groupings. So this year we launched the Relay Festival. Quite excited about that. I know Cumbria Secondary School. Remember talking with the principal this week. I think hope she will attend the event. I think she's attending the event, and they will have some school kids in the relay there. Scarusek, of course, will be competing heavily. Registration closed off for that, I think, either yesterday or today. So we're there, we're adding, and we'll see how that relay festival works. And then next year we can expand more on that. So who knows? Capture the Flag could move from football centric to relay centric, because they don't want to become too monotonous. Every year it's the same thing over and over and over. We also have to cater for the different demographics, right? So we have the kids corner, and that will cater for more the persons probably under 10, and that will have the kids element, the snow cone, the slushy, the go-karts, by Celebration Capital, Candy Central. You also have to cater for the mature audience, and then of course the after party, the zest element you cater for, what we call the zesters, right? So 3 demographics, trying to cater for everyone within the one event.
All right. So I want you to give us a bit of a walkthrough of the day. Gates open from 2 p.m. What can persons look forward to this weekend for Capture the Flag 2023?
Well, yes, gates open at 2 p.m. Kickoff is at 4, and we do start on time. Each year we do start on time. So get there early. By 5 o'clock, all bottles must be in by 5 p.m. And your football starts, well, kickoff is at 4, and you go from there. Your after party should start around 10, right? We have entertainment by Logic, Squid, and Temper. I saw online some persons were saying, don't bring Temper. And I totally disagree, because if you are nobody over 35 should be telling somebody under 25 who their music should listen to, right? Just as how the persons over 45 used to tell you, you over 35, who they should be listening to, right? And you have a choice. The main event will be finished by between 9 and 9:30, and if Temper is not to your liking, you are free to proceed home.
All right. I want you to tell us a little bit about the participating schools this year. We just saw the flyer up on screen. Mm-hmm. The involvement of the participating schools and that whole lead up, the process in terms of working along with these schools over time.
Mm-hmm. So this year we took the pre-qualifiers, the Tobago edition, to Roxborough. That in itself took some logistics headache to deal with, but Roxborough was vibes. We have 6 schools in the final day. We have the Boys on the Hill, Scarusek, Roxborough. We have Arima coming from Trinidad, because they won the Trinidad leg. You have Speyside, and you have the Goodwood Secondary School. So you have the first set of games. You will have Goodwood, Roxborough, and Boys on the Hill. They will have to do a playoff to get the winner from that segment. So they're actually playing over games because some errors were made in the pre-qualifiers, and we didn't have time to play over.
All right. And we want to get very quickly, I know one of the significant things for the alumni, let me allow you, just before we get into that, to talk very quickly about the Relay Festival that we're seeing up on screen, the lineup of alumni and the schools and the masters.
Right. So we kept it very simple this year as we are now starting out. So for the alumni element, we have the 100 women, the 100 men, and open, it means age group is up. So you could go young, you can go middle age. The 4x100 mix open, so you can have females on your team there as well. Same thing repeated for the school teams, and then the masters is persons over 60, and you are doing a 60-meter dash.
And one of the things that certainly Scarborough Secondary School alumni is known for, its ability to be able to utilize these resources that are gained to continue to help the school. Remind us of that and the prizes that are also up for stakes this year.
Well, usually we don't put out the prizes public to the school, but for the Scarborough Sec element, we do some work with the football fraternity. We do the scholarship, the $20,000 scholarship after the event, and some other things which you would usually just see on the Facebook page coming out from the event.
All right. So just before we wrap, remind our viewers the place to be this weekend, date, time, venue, for those who may have missed it?
So Sunday the 23rd July, all roads lead to Dwight York Stadium. Gates open at 2 p.m. Kickoff is at 4. You can get tickets at Lost Restaurant and Bar. That's on Lowlands Mall, right here on the Port Mall at ID Prince. You can also get tickets at 7th Avenue Apparel or online at Island E Tickets. Tickets for the red area, what we call Krypton. Krypton, now the stadium is not categorized for this event as covered and uncovered. It is categorized as Krypton because Krypton covers the entire covered area and piece of the uncovered area. So it's classified as Krypton. And then so that's everything to the west. And that tickets for that right now, it's $100. And the other side, everything on the east, which is the entire uncovered side, that is $60.
All right, so the place to be this weekend, folks, is Capture the Flag 2023, the Dwight York Stadium, and persons can also pay at the door.
At the door, you pay more, so yes, you can pay at the door.
But remember, at the end of the day, these activities are really free. What you are doing is you are making a contribution to the alumni going forward. So, Biana, we look forward to seeing you out there on the weekend. I'll be out there in the mix, all support, full support, and we look forward to Tobago and, in fact, Trinidad, all those coming across. We look forward to that full support for Capture the Flag 2023. All right, viewers, at this point, we want to say thank you very much for continuing to choose the Tobago Updates morning show. We're wrapping up at this point, and so we're also taking the opportunity to remind you, stay tuned, stay connected. We're heading out, but we're certainly heading into Tobago Notes, and that will be followed by GMT. So bye-bye for now, folks. Remember to share the live, share the live, share the live.
Sea turtle preservation is crucial for our marine environment as well as our tourism sector. So educating our young people about these marine animals via this World Sea Turtle Expo is a key part of the island's preservation efforts. The event was spearheaded by the Tobago Tourism Agency Limited, TTAL, in collaboration with the NGO Save Our Sea Turtles, along with other environmental organizations.
I think it's something good, so the children here will be able to learn on how to protect these turtles because they're very important for the environment.
They help us regulate and protect our coastal ecosystems. How do they do that? Turtles, they tend to eat vegetation, right? So as they eat vegetation, they keep the vegetation from overgrowing other important species. So it keeps the ecosystem in balance. So a lot of plastics that end up in the water, these turtles see it, they mistake it for a jellyfish, they ingest it, and what do you think will happen to them eventually? They die. So that's not good.
Part of what makes us special is the number of turtles and other sea creatures that we have living in the marine space. If we want to continue building a tourism product that's sustainable, and when we say sustainable, we're talking about having a product that will go on long after we are gone, it's important for us to continue to support and nurture and keep in a pristine condition all the things that will make people come to us and in terms of our tourism product.
This exposition, held at the Scarborough Library, was done in celebration of World Sea Turtle Day, a global observance held in the month of June.
That was a production of the Department of Information, Office of the Chief Secretary, Tobago House of Assembly.
Yes, be careful.
Honey, I feel like we're going to start to cook, yes, because these children must be hungry now, right?
Oh, shucks. Oh. These plugs, oh my gosh.
Hey, Richard, hey, come from there. Come from there.
What's going on in here?
Oh God, I should have buy extra, boy.
What would you do if this happened to you? Dial 990 in case of fire emergencies and always have a serviceable fire extinguisher ready and available at all times.
Tobago Glass Supplies has been a leading name for over 37 years in the glass and aluminum market in Tobago. We provide an extensive range of high-quality, innovative aluminum and glass products for commercial and residential use. Competitive prices with superior and professional services by committed employees who are guided by rigid quality standards. Tobago Glass Supplies specializes in the manufacture and installation of glass and aluminum products that are essential to today's homeowners and the business environment. We are engaged in marketing, sales, and installation of a variety of products. These ranges from windows and doors to necessities such as mirrors for homes and vehicles, designed and manufactured in-house or imported.
Excel Spa by Haley, where our highly trained staff are ready to deliver the top-class services in facial massages, waxing, nail enhancement, and body treatment. We are ideally located at Coco Avenue, Susolands, Tobago. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, TripAdvisor, or you can call us on 730-0149. Excel Spa by Haley. Relax, renew, and rejuvenate.
You can now get whatever you need whenever you need it anywhere in Tobago with Tobago. Your meals, medication, groceries, and shopping all delivered directly to you. No more hassle, no more stress. Get the Tobago app today on Google Play or Apple App Store.
That's TAPPOGO and let us deliver to you.
Check our website at www.tapogo.app or call the experts at 494-TOGO and 484-4746. Tobago. Relax. We will get it to you. Tobago's at your service.
It's a different type of thing down there. And we party till we drop down there. With a lot of pretty girls down there. Down in Tobago.
Yeah. Hey. Tobago updates. Good morning, Tobago. Wake up with Candace and Denicia. Let's go. It's a brand new morning. Rise up to a brand new dawning. As the passion start to rise, the energy fill the skies. I say thanks for favor to wake up and
Good morning, and welcome to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. I am Chanel Felix, guys, and you know, whenever you see me here, it's because we're about to have those conversations that you want to have to get your morning started, and I'm about to ask those questions that you want asked. But we are in the middle of unprecedented times in the island of Tobago, whereby there's a war being waged on Tobago, and many might think that it's being waged from God knows where. But in the midst of Voice Note Gate, we see something happening in Tobago that we haven't seen ever before, especially in the political arena. There are several things that are at hand here. There are several things that come into play. One of those things that we can see happening is that for the first time ever, we see an audit report being done in the THA that exposes things that we have not uncovered for years. Things that have shown that the Tobago House of Assembly has been used by previous administration and others for things that only that audit report would reveal when it becomes public. We have a situation where audio tape where members of the executive were heard
discussing things where they called their strategy that included things like propaganda and other things. And we had the chief secretary coming out and saying, well, this is a conversation that they did have. And then we have the TTPS coming out to talk about conspiracy to use state funds and defrauding the government to produce propaganda. Now, these and several conversations are happening on the island of Tobago, and it would be amiss of us here to not discuss what is exactly happening. And this morning, to have that conversation with me, I have Mr. Anselm Richards, who is one of the chief advisors in the Office of Finance. Good morning, Mr. Richards.
Good morning. They may call me the chief propagandist this morning.
Well, I don't
because I'm employed by this administration.
I don't know. Well, that's something that many persons share. But before we get into this discussion this morning, we want to make it clear that your opinions and the opinions shared during this Good Morning Tobago sessions are not the opinions of Tobago Updates, but the opinions of the individuals on the set at this point in time.
And definitely so, because we have to be going and have to sit up and take notice of what is happening in our space. And what is happening, as you rightfully said at the outset, it's unprecedented times. And if we don't take note of what is happening and react in a particular way and send a message, and I will say we need to push back, send a message to the authorities that this is not fair. You cannot weaponize and harass, political harassment, I will call this, the people of Tobago and their government. They have elected their government. You cannot use the resources and the institution of the state, or you should not do that to harass the people of Tobago and their island government. It is unfair, it is unethical, it is wrong, and we as Tobagonians must and should stand up and send a message to Port of Spain that we will not tolerate this. We have a crisis. We have a security crisis in this country. At this particular point in time, we have over 320 citizens who have been murdered in this country for the year. And we are at the 18th of June. So if you take that on average, we are heading for over 600 murders by the end of this year. We have a commissioner of police, Ms. Ola Christopher, who is literally running from the media to account for her stewardship as commissioner of police, running from the media to speak to the issue of murder directly, and supplying the media with a 16-minute voice recording to explain what is happening with murder in this country, which was published in the Sunday papers. But yet we have a ton load of police officers over here harassing and taking away phones and electronic devices of persons who are employed by the government of Tobago on the island of Tobago. And that we have a crisis in this country.
Now, there's several questions to be asked this morning, honestly. And it's so much confusion out there because there are two things that are at play. And the question was asked this morning during an interview where Julian, my colleague, Skeet, he would have had a conversation with Mr. Clyde Weatherhead. And Mr. Weatherhead would have separated the matter into two things. And he said it's either their investigation a conspiracy to commit fraud, which that would have to do with the discussion that was had on the voice note by the chief secretary and others that were present, or it's either they are investigating whether or not this has actually taken place. And my question then is, if you are investigating whether or not that has taken place, he correctly mentioned going to someone's home as opposed to going to office. It's two separate things, because if it's work-related stuff, you would expect them to go to offices, which they have done. Now, the question therein lies, how do you separate what individuals are doing from an administrative perspective in the THA from what they have the right to exercise in their own private capacity as citizens, to exercise their right to participate in politics? That's my question. How is the TTPS separating the two matters?
But the troubling thing here is that the TTPS is using a list that was put out by the PNM to say that these are the persons that the assembly hired to activate this so-called propaganda machinery. Where that list come from, on which certain person's name were published. What role did the former chief administrator, Etlin John, played in all of this? And the time they say that she was employed, she was the PS at CAS. And they went to the woman home over the weekend and took her devices. We have to stand up and say, this is not fair. We had a situation in Tobago where there was Landgate in Moriah involving the Prime Minister. Have you heard the police went by him, took his devices and all of that? All that was in the public space where material was allegedly moved from the hospital construction site to a development in Mason Hall in which he had interest. Did we hear police embarrassing then he wasn't Prime Minister at the time? Did we hear police searching and seizing devices of his family and the contractor? We had a situation recently where a Minister of Government, Foster Cummings, was published, a whole series was published every night for about a week with alleged commingling of funds and all kinds of financial maneuvering and manipulation. Did you hear the police, did Christopher or the Commissioner of Police, did the Anti-Corruption Bureau didn't see things happening here? Did they go into Foster Cummings' home or his workplace and seize documents and devices? Why is it that they feel that Tobago is a soft target and Tobagonians are a soft target? And they can come here and terrorize the people? I came from the law enforcement. I came from police. And I could sit here this morning and say I was one of probably the best investigators in the police service during my time. Trained by the DA, trained by the Canadian Mountain Police, and all of that. Worked in some of the most elite units in the police service. But I'm saying this amounts to police harassment. This amounts to the weaponizing of the police service against political opponents. We have had a situation in this country where before the end of the financial year, last September 30th, the Auditor General was sent in. Never in the history. We had 23 years of P&M administration. And at the end of September last year, the Auditor General was sent in to audit the development program of this administration. When they are now auditing 2017 financial statement of the THA, they came in to do a special audit on this administration development program for last year, which for God, and God don't sleep, God don't like ugly. There is nothing negative that came out from that thing, more than it picks up some misbehavior of the last administration with some road paving in Adventist Street in Mason Hall, where they wanted to pay the contractor 60 million and all of that. Came up Rabbit Lane when no work was done and all those things. Because when you plan to do evil, the God that we serve does not sleep nor slumber. The God that looks over Tobago does not sleep or slumber.
Oh, what I want to understand is the legitimacy of the investigation, because of the fact that it is impossible to separate what these individuals do in their day-to-day tasks, their secretarial duties, their duties as personal advisors, their duties on boards, all the projects and proposals that they have submitted and continue to do. When they are showing these things, when you are investigating and you are seeing their meetings to minutes with other government officials in Trinidad, let's say, for instance, when the ministry meets with the division here and many of the staff are present, how do you then say that these staff are not doing the THA business, but they are doing propaganda specifically? Because one of the things that was mentioned is that these individuals are being investigated because they were hired by the THA for the sole purpose
of spreading propaganda.
Well,
I want to see how they will prove you or anybody else's work sole propaganda. What will be the hard evidence for that? Because under the law, Section 25 provides for the government of Tobago, and I'm deliberately using that term because we need to emphasize that we have an island government that is elected by the people of Tobago. There are some politicians, one of whom I sat on this set with, who thinks that we don't have any government in Tobago. We have a THA, which is nonsense. We have an island government elected by the people to do their administration for a period of 4 years. And I'm saying that the law provides for that government to hire people to do the work, to deliver the goods and services to the people of Tobago. And that is provided under Section 25 of the Act. I am seeing a significant challenge for any law enforcement agency to prove that any work was hired for the sole purpose of spreading propaganda.
So if it is, if you see it like that, do you then think that this is really just political intimidation? If these are things that is near almost impossible to prove, is it that the aim behind these things might just be to come to Tobago, embarrass Farley, and embarrass Tobagonians on a whole?
Well, I am leaning into that position until the police comes to a place where they can produce hard evidence. Because I want to know who made this report. I know they will say that nobody don't have to make the report. They hate in the space, and in the interest of public interest, they have to do it. But they heard things about Cummings in the space. Did they investigate Foster Cummings? They heard things about, well, I know there was an investigation with the Landgate. You know, there are so many things you have heard in the space about other politicians. Did we had this kind of investigation? We sat here for 23 years, and we know, all of us in Tobago knows, that the last administration had a whole program called Community Liaison Officer. All of them do spread propaganda. The whole program put in place by Warville London. The Community Liaison Poster with Moyi and all of them.
All right, and we're gonna take a quick break here, and we'll be back really soon, and we're gonna continue with this conversation.
Are you flood ready? Monitor trusted sources for info. Wear protective gear when you clean up. Contact your insurance provider to assess the damage. An initiative to help people prevent, prepare, recover. TATIL, where people are people.
Full disclosure with the executive every Thursday at 8 p.m. only on Tobago Updates. Real questions and honest conversations with the sole aim of keeping you fully in the know. Full disclosure with the executive every Thursday at 8 p.m. only on Tobago Updates.
Coconut's Cafe, the buffet restaurant that specializes in all your tasty local dishes. For breakfast and for lunch. Breakfast includes coconut bake and sada roti, served with chokers, bull joil, and sausages in tomato sauce. Not forgetting beef and cheese pies, shepherd's pie, macaroni pie, and rice in various styles. Meat served in a variety of flavors, garden salads, and pasta salads. All this accompanied by fruit juices, coconut water, your choice of a great combination to appease your taste buds. So call us today to order, as we are here to accommodate your busy schedules, or if you are having a cooking day off.
Everybody only worrying. Never ever worry. Don't mind how things looking hard. I tell them never ever worry. If your nice can't get damaged bad. I tell them never ever worry. What I'm saying is true. So just consider TATIL is always right here for you. I tell them never ever worry. Don't mind if life make you sad. I tell them never ever worry. If your house get flooded out real bad. I tell them never ever worry. What I'm saying is true. So just consider TATIL is always right here for you. I tell them never ever worry. If sickness catch you off guard. I tell them never ever worry. If times fall on you real hard. I tell them never ever worry. What I'm saying is true. So just consider TATIL will always be here for you.
Never worry about a thing. TATIL, where people are people. You know what I mean.
The best place to stay in Tobago is at Thorn's Place, with rates starting as low as 200 TT. Call or WhatsApp 745-7306 or 682-8676. We are located uptown Scarborough, 5 minutes away from the port. Remember, at Thorn's Place, our aim is to make your stay safe and affordable.
Call fire.
What's the number? Oh, God. Fan emergency, good afternoon. You said the building is on fire. Are there any persons trapped? 4 persons. What is the address of the call, ma'am? Number 4, Candy Drive, Pier Road. Can I have your name, please? Miss Bihari. Thank you, Miss Bihari. I'll be dispatching an appliance. Central control from fire control.
Go ahead, fire control. Central control is really over.
Central control, have appliance and crew. Respond to our residential fire. Same is at number 4, Kakandi Drive, Pero Chabonas. 4 persons are trapped, 2 adults, 2 children. They were unable to make contact with fire service, so she called on their behalf.
Transmission received loud and clear. Operator Central Control 3463. Firefighter Wiley, Central Control out.
Create an evacuation plan for you and your family and practice your escape. Always ensure you have more than one way to safely exit your home. Your lives may depend on it.
Tobago updates. Good morning, Tobago. Wake up with Candace and Denasia.
Let's go. It's a brand new morning. Rise up to a brand new dawn.
Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago, guys. Again, as stated before, unprecedented times. Things that we have never seen happening in Tobago. It's already in the public space and it's public information that currently the Anti-Corruption Bureau is in Tobago along with the Financial Investigations Unit, and they are carrying out their investigations. And several Tobagonians, and I mean, I think tomorrow you guys may have to see me on the side of Mr. Richards because there's so much to be said, but we have to always ensure that we maintain the integrity of Tobago updates. And I have a job here this morning to ask the questions. But there are many questions that I feel like I myself have to answer in the spirit of transparency and accountability. And as a young person in the Tobago space who would have gone abroad and studied and done enough, I believe, for youth development where it comes to speaking out on topics related to politics on the island of Tobago, and to be educated enough to be employed by the state and then to be deemed as a propaganda strategist because you have a voice in the public that may not be one that concedes to the popular opinion or one that is in alignment with those of the opposition. But I have a job and a duty to discuss topics that may or may not be in favor of certain political views. But this morning, we're talking about this investigation that's happening on this voice note. And as I said, maybe tomorrow I might be sitting in the seat of Mr. Richards as we have the conversation from another perspective. But as I sit here, one of the things that I want to inquire about, let's look at Mr. Gary Griffith. Recently, I had a conversation with him, and he would have thoroughly expounded upon the fact that the TTPS's resources were used to intercept the phone lines of him and his wife. Also, the same FIU was used to go into their personal bank accounts to begin to investigate them. And these are the type of things that we've been seeing being done by the state to individuals of interest. And what I want to ask you, Mr. Richards, is do you think it's a similar situation taking place in Tobago where the state's resources are being channeled towards political intimidation of an opposition that have clearly swept the PNM in Tobago?
Well, the evidence points clearly to that. You know, we have had, as I said before, we have had the Auditor General coming in at the close of the financial year last year, unprecedented. We don't know who sent her. It has never happened in the history. As the financial year, they wanted to do a special audit. Rightfully so, the Constitution provides for the Auditor General to come in without notice and do that kind of audit. But we are saying this is highly unusual, and we are thinking that was engineered from somewhere else outside of the Auditor General office, and instructions were passed on to the Auditor General for that to happen. We have seen over time how even with the amendment to the THR, how that was handled. There was no consultation when the seat was moved from 12 to 15. So we have seen those trends. And therefore we have seen that the current PNM administration that formed the central government, how the leadership of that organization is inclined to use the resources of the state to advance the agenda of the entity. And therefore, any entity that seems or appears to be in a position that is likely to face the nuclear options of the state. And therefore, we as to be going and have to call this out. We have to call the country to account. We have to call the central government to account.
Excellent. And let's delve a little bit into the voice note specifically. There were certain things that were discussed there where it comes to the spreading of propaganda on social media. And recently, I would have had an interview with Mr. Ansel Dennis, who is the leader of the PNM Council Tobago. And he said to me, admittedly, that these are strategies that they themselves employed. However, they do not use state funds to do it. So he admitting that they employ the very same strategies. The question therein lies, did they employ these strategies during their time in office? And now that they are no longer in office, they have to use resources from elsewhere to carry out those very same strategies. And when we look at the type of questions that were asked at the investigative level in the House over the last couple months consecutively, you can see where a number of contractual information for particular individuals who are now being named in this investigation is being put out in the public. So any smart individual could identify that this has been a calculated and concerted effort to target contract workers who have shown public support for this particular administration.
Well, we have had in this space, and I said it before, we have had the whole program called the Community Liaison Program, which was a program designed to advance the messages, propaganda of the administration then. We have had in the Division of Finance, we have had a program called Youth Energized for Success. I don't know if you passed through that program in your youthful days. that was a
I'm still in my youthful days.
well, I see that you are now engaging in a higher level of youthfulness. Right. And congratulations on that.
Thank you.
But I'm saying that program, the YES program, was a political machinery of the PNM administration. Because all those persons were employed on contract and the youthful thing. And when you look, every social event that was held by the party, they were showing up to work. Even up to today, Minister Shamfa Kodjo still writes to the division and asks for their support when she has the community outreach program, the YES program people. Because it is still embedded in her mind that is one of the levers, or that is one of the components of the information machinery that was set up within the government of Tobago to advance the then government, the island government agenda. Even today, she writes continuously to the division for us to, and we send them to help her in her constituency when she have her outreach and so forth. So when they're talking propaganda, they must know that they have left a paper trail. They have left a pile of evidence where they have used resources of the state. And all of us in Tobago knows that, all of us. And we're pretending that we upright and so on, and we don't know and we're blind. You understand? But all of us have known and seen and experienced what has happened. And we have never had the police coming in and doing this kind of upheaval. I understand that they went by the Deputy Chief Secretary yesterday afternoon, and she confirmed it with their search warrant. What that is intended to do. This is the Deputy Chief Secretary of the Tobago House Assembly. And you are coming in with 8 police to search your home because there is something that they have propaganda machinery and all kind of nonsense. And that is the level of embarrassment and they call domestic terrorism. The police service is apparently being used to carry out acts of political domestic terrorism. Anytime you oppose the central government, you are a target for harassment.
All right, and
so
let's look at it. Let's look at it.
Take me to custody.
I would not be surprised if I see you in handcuffs later on this evening, Mr. Richards.
But I understand the system, and they know if they interfere with me, what is likely to happen.
Mr. Richards, let's look at this from a futuristic perspective. And how can the impact of Tobago's autonomy truly shift the trajectory of what we're seeing happening on the island right now, especially in light of this investigation?
Well, right. So, and that's why if you go back to the budget statement, the whole what we call the reform of government in Tobago is critical to avert issues like this. It is critical. If we don't fix this constitutional arrangement that gives the island government the constitutional authority for the matters for which it is responsible for in Tobago, and where the central government is debarred from interfering or getting involved in these matters. For instance, look at what happened yesterday. They were celebrating the pipeline exercise at Lambo Junction, and the Minister of Public Utilities said that Tobago shouldn't build a water park. You could imagine that? He's saying that the people of Tobago should not develop the island until he says so. Gonzales or Gonzales or whatever his name is, coming to Tobago to tell Tobagonian, don't develop your island, don't build a water park until I say so. What manner of disrespect and out of place this is that?
And how many water parks are there in Trinidad at present?
Well, I think you should say that. And how many big swimming pools they have all over the place in Trinidad. But Tobagonian does not deserve a water park. He don't know if we pull in our water from the sea is in close proximity. We could send a 16-inch main into the sea and pull it and have a desalination plant to desal the water to service the water plant. He don't know the design, but he stood up in Lambo Junction there yesterday and saying that Tobago should not build no water park yet because they're now trying to organize. So what's the inefficiency? Gonzalez incompetence must put our development on hold. And we must go to Port of Spain. And these things has to be rectified constitutionally so that the people of Tobago can legitimately, constitutionally determine their future, determine their development trajectory, and deal also with the issue of internal security. We must have a secretary in the Tobago Assembly that is responsible for legal and internal security matters.
Right.
That has some oversight over what law enforcement does on this island. Because if you have a situation where you are an island government and you have no control over the security forces on the island, well then what? Is an occupied state? Just check out, constructively, you are living in an occupied state because the armed forces control your movement, they control your security, but then you have they are being remotely controlled from Port of Spain. Then what is your oversight and accountability arrangement in a situation like that?
The question therein lies, do we have persons in office, in opposition, whose true intention, passion, and purpose is to see the advancement and the development of Tobago as opposed to self-aggrandizement and power for self? Because with everything that we're seeing on the island, there are so many areas of Tobago's development that continues to be neglected. And while we continue to ask for a certain amount of allocation in the budget, we continue to get what central government thinks that we deserve. But when would the attention by our officials be placed on truly advocating for Tobago, getting what Tobago deserves, apart from all the noise that is happening?
Now, you have to understand the political strategy here. It's to keep them underdeveloped, poor and stressed, on the border of misery. So when you have that, people take whatever you give them. But if the people and their institutions are developed, they become independent and powerful in their thoughts and their decisions. That does not help the PNM. If you look at the political configuration, the parliament is constructed now in terms of opposition and government. 22 to 19. There's a two seats difference. If the PNM does not win in the next general election, if the PNM does not capture the 2 Tobago seats, their chances of forming the next government is very, very difficult. And therefore, and we must see it for what it is. The political strategy is to beat the opposition that have whipped the PNM in 2021, 14-1, into submission. And everything that they are doing is that. We are not getting our releases on time.
So is this a distraction from the advocacy of this administration to advocate for the type of financial resources that Tobago needs within the next financial year?
Well, we are advocating for it, but there's a deliberate strategy from Port of Spain that speaks to disruption. It's to disrupt the functioning of the government so that the people will react in a particular way. It is a deliberate strategy. It is calculated. They have taken over a month to appoint a chief administrator. in the history of the island that has never happened. Over a month, talk about service commission and properly constituted and all manner of issues, right? We have had this sending in the Auditor General. Our releases are not coming on time. They're not giving us all our releases at the end of the fiscal year. So you are seeing patterns that are pointing to a coordinated, deliberate, engineered strategy to cause disruption in the functioning of this administration in Tobago, including this police investigation is part of the equation.
Can we see, or can we project that there's a concerted effort to put the Chief Secretary in handcuffs so that they can have a nice front page photo that says that the Chief Secretary has been arrested in relation to this voice note case?
Well, I am not seeing them able to prove any case against the Chief Secretary.
But even without them being able to prove anything, can we expect us to be going and to see them carrying out the Chief Secretary in handcuffs?
No, this strategy, I can't see the end game being that. I think that this strategy is to wear down the people of Tobago, trying to prove or create a narrative that this administration is so corrupt and so forth, and that the people will look away from this administration. But I tell you this morning, Tobagonians are a people who are resilient. They have lived in this space. They understand genuine leadership. Yes, we will make mistakes, but they understand the leadership that they require, and that's why they have elected this administration. This will backfire on the PNM. You know? This will certainly backfire on the PNM because Tobagonians are watching quietly, and they will remember. They remember how arrogant they were when they had the 6-6. And how the government in Trinidad came in and changed the law and changed the boundaries to create a competitive advantage, because the split constituency that they thought that they had a stronghold and they would have won the election and they were celebrating. And at the end of the day, they were totally wiped out. 5 votes. And if we had done the recount properly, we would have no Kelvin Morris in the House of Assembly at this particular point in time.
The last time the PNM had a meeting here in Tobago where the Prime Minister was present, he said to Tobagonians that they are still in charge and they still run the government, and it's still the government of Trinidad and Tobago. Do you think statements of this nature would come back to bite the Prime Minister when it comes to the next general election?
Right. So we have to, this administration has to educate and communicate with Tobagonians, explaining to them the developments that are happening, the challenges that we are facing, and how we intend to solve those problems working with the people. We have to have that continuous conversation. The time and the episodes of events that are taking place require us to have a very deep relationship with the population, because at the end of the day, we administrate and lead for the people of Tobago and not for the assemblymen. And therefore, we have to build and set up the communication strategy where we can have constant engagement and communication with the people, keeping them up to date as to what is happening, what the central government is doing, what it is not doing, what it is providing, what it is not providing, how they are coming into the space, and the interference and the nonsense that Mr. Gonzalez Mr. Gonzalez spoke yesterday about Tobago shouldn't build a water park now, and he's trying to order and put time-bound measures for Tobago development, totally out of place and out of time. And I hope that the media who is giving him all the coverage in Tobago would have picked that up and said something, because they are purporting to be Tobagonians. And you have a minister coming to say that we shouldn't do this development. And not one of the so-called social media reporters asking why Tobago should not have a water park at this time, and whether Tobago should mortgage its development for your inefficiency as the Minister of Public Utility in 2023.
Well, we will continue with this conversation as soon as we come back right after this break. Guys, see you soon.
Help! Fire service! Hello, fire service! Anybody in here? Fire service! Yeah, we're right here. We gotta get out. We're right here. Here, take him. Let's go.
Thank you for saving me. You're my hero.
Together, as we face the challenges during the new normal, always remember that fire safety begins with you.
From the experts that created the Zinger sandwich comes the KFC Crispy Barbecue Zinger.
The only one I see is you.
Cheddar cheese, crispy onions, the most delicious Kentucky Fried Chicken, and barbecue sauce. Get ready for a whole new level of flavor.
Inner Health, number 13B, Portmore, Scarborough, Tobago, with over 25 years experience, offering services in and not limited to microscopic blood analysis, reflexology, and the sale of a wide range of organic herbal products used to supplement thyroid, lymphatic, heart, kidney, and brain health, and the male and female reproductive systems. Come and chat with us. Remember, your health is your wealth. Jimmy's Holiday Resorts has 1, 2, and 3 bedroom, fully self-contained apartments located at the heart of Crown Point. Minutes walk to the popular beaches, restaurants, bars, and the airport. Enjoy our amazing amenities such as fully equipped apartments, complete with Wi-Fi, AC, TV, and a pool, and a mini-mart on the compound. Call 639-8292 or 8929. Jimmy's Holiday Resorts is your family's home away from home.
This is how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show, and everybody's gonna know. Say it to them once again. They better look up below. This is your show, and everybody's gonna know. That's how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show. Yeah. Hey.
Tobago updates. Good morning, Tobago.
Good morning and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. Guys, we've been having a very interesting conversation about these unprecedented times that we're seeing in Tobago. But before we get back into that conversation, Papa B's in, guys. They are letting us know that they currently have couples packages that are available, and they have a $700 per night package for couples. They have $1,000 for family, and also $600 for single persons who are just looking for that escape. You know, sometimes we just need a change of environment for that mental health break that is often necessary. And Papa B's in there, located in Scorpio Trace, Canby, and they provide a mini bar, pool, massage salon, air conditioned rooms, and Wi-Fi to go with it. So be sure to check out Papa B's in right there in Canby. You can't miss it. It's right as soon as you turn off on Scipio Trace in Canby. Guys, so we're going to get back into the discussion this morning. And one part of that discussion that is extremely important to understand is the role that this audit report is playing in the type of manpower that is being put into pursuing this audio gate situation in Tobago. Tell us about that, Mr. Richard.
Well, the audit report, the forensic audit report into the programs that we called last year, is pointing to some very interesting, or is pointing some very interesting development. That's what's happening in this space in terms of, well, issues that can be classified as money laundering, among other things. Because we have had contractors who invoiced the THA for work that they never did, you know, and $5 million among other things. We have invoices on average were inflated by 60%. So if the job cost $4, they were charging the THA $10. So they were getting $6 free. And they never thought that this administration would have come into office and did the kind of probing into these programs to unearth what was really happening. And this is making a lot of people in the politics and in the business community very uneasy and uncomfortable. Right? We have had situation with one project in Adventist Trace where they build the THA for bitumen, and when you go it's concrete road, they overpaid already, and then they still have 2 invoices and asking for almost $8 more million. When you look at the road is a concrete road about the width of the stable. Going down to the back about the width of the stable. You can't even turn on the road. And they wanted $15 million for that project.
So how is that the possible result of that audit report feeding into every other thing that we're seeing taking place on the island?
Well, the audit report, when that is made fully public and the investigations are completed and the culprits are brought to justice, it will really present to Tobagonian the historical antecedent of how their monies were being siphoned out of Tobago. And this could spell a really bad political history or a political ending for the PNM in Tobago. If we understand what was happening with our monies in Tobago, the Tobago House of Assembly was used as a slush fund over the last 20 plus years.
And allegedly, persons might want to assume that those money was being funneled back into
political campaigns.
Right.
If you look at the circle, you see the monies were going to contractors, and contractors were funding the PNM, and that was the circle.
And these are the allegations that are coming out based on the findings of the report.
Well, those are the evidence that we are seeing. So we are saying that contractors were significantly overpaid for projects, and these contractors have serious link to the political party that was in office.
But we
really
have never seen these types of matter being pursued or prosecuted at the highest level of the law. Do you think that the findings of this audit would really go anywhere, especially with the current administration that we have at the central government and their control over the TTPS?
Well, this administration, the island government of Tobago at this particular time, is pursuing this thing from 2 angles. We are going to go after individual privately to recover the monies, and where there is criminal conduct, the DPP will be alerted, the evidence will be supplied, and the authorities that are responsible for criminal investigation and criminal prosecution, which is the attorney, Mr. Gasper, the Director of Public Prosecution, will take charge of that. And where there is evidence for us to go under the civil law to reclaim and to recover the monies that were illegally taken from the people of Tobago, we are going to go that route. So there's going to be a full ban of approaches to the end of this investigation to ensure that all angles are covered and that the people of Tobago resources that were taken without due process, without work being done, are recovered and returned to the treasury of the island.
Okay, and would this administration be seeking manpower from outside to avoid these types of investigations from becoming compromised?
Well, I could say at this particular point in time that there are king's councils that are working with this administration, looking at the findings, building the cases and so forth, and then we will be so advised as to what are our options on these findings. So we are putting in the resources, we are putting in the work to ensure that at the end of the day, the end result of this forensic audit is what we call justice for the people of Tobago.
Excellent. And moving forward, how do you recommend the people of Tobago respond to what they're seeing happening currently?
Well, what I would say, the Tobagonians need to be told what is happening. They need to be presented with the facts. They need to alert themselves to what is happening in their spaces. They need to engage in conversation. They need to listen, and they need to make the calculation as to whether this is justifiable or whether this is just pure political victimization and harassment against the elected representative. Because tell me, you're going to search the home of the I'm not saying that the deputy political leader or the deputy chief secretary is above the law, right? But what is the crime he or she has committed that requires her home to be searched? Police vehicle pull up in Bell Garden, police going up, digging up Faith Israel Brebner's home. You know, come on. You understand? We had issues with PNM official Marlene McDonald, who was charged and all of that. Did we hear all this kind of police activity with searching homes and embarrassing her and all of that? We have the minister, I mentioned it before, a sitting minister in government, all kind of financial commingling and all kind of things. And based on ethics alone, has the government acted? You understand what I'm saying?
So we have that. Of that. But is it that we can expect to hear from the Chief Secretary very soon on the matters that are at play at this point in time?
Well, I think that the Chief Secretary is looking deeply at the situation. I think he will speak at the appropriate time. Remember, we had a situation recently when we had an influx of licensed officers in Tobago. And we've seen the pattern. They were here, say they're searching and they're checking for vehicle and all of that. And rightfully so. And a statement was made and the Chief Secretary was lambasted for making that statement about harassing Tobagoans. So the Chief Secretary, as the head of government in Tobago, has to be very, very calculated in his response to matters like these, because he will, and they are waiting for him to say something, to say he's interfering with law enforcement. So the Chief Secretary has to be very calculated. He has to seek very tight legal advice on matters like these as to what kind of statement he makes in the public space where this is concerned, this investigation, because it is an active police investigation. And should the Chief Secretary come and make an announcement or a statement on this, it will be interpreted as interfering and with law enforcement and all of that. But I think that the people of Tobago should take note and they should find some creative way of expressing their dissatisfaction. Whether they want to blow their horn at 4 o'clock and 12 o'clock every 4 hours, all drivers blow your horn through Scarborough, wherever you are, blow your horn and let Tobago as a symbol that you are not happy with this level of interference and disruption in the functioning of government. Every 4 hours. So we're blowing it 8 o'clock in the morning, we're blowing it 12 o'clock, we're blowing it 4 o'clock, 3 times per day. 8 o'clock in the morning.
What you mean, a concerted effort to demonstrate that
we are not satisfied. So blow your horn 8 o'clock in the morning, blow it at 12 and blow it at 4 o'clock, and especially in Scarborough and when you are close to certain law enforcement installations.
Tobago does not have a culture of protest. However, if we see a situation where our Chief Secretary is accosted, what type of reaction are you predicting from Tobagoans?
Well, I will not. I will leave. I don't think the Chief Secretary will be accosted. I don't feel he will be arrested because he has not committed any crime. The Chief Secretary came and said this was a strategy meeting. There's no evidence that this was implemented. There's no evidence that the state funds is being used to pay propaganda machinery. And the Chief Secretary have made his part clear. He came to the public and he made his statement. The mischief that is taking place in this space will come to its natural conclusion. The people of Tobago will have their opportunity to deal with the mischief makers. At the end of the day, there's a political dimension to this, and there's a social dimension, and there's a legal dimension. And sometimes when you feel you can win on the legal dimension, you may pay a dear political price that is even more costly to you than the legal victory that you assume that you would have gained from this mischief that you are trying to make, and using the resources of the state to suppress and disrupt your opposition that is in government in Tobago. It is unfair. The people have spoken in December of 2021. They have elected their government. Give the government the time to breathe and grow and deliver to the people of Tobago. That's my position on this matter.
In speculation, can we assume or even speculate that there is an underlying motive that could possibly be there for this investigation, whereby they are looking for evidence of that audit report that is masked in the disguise of the voice note investigation. Is it possible that they could actually be looking for the findings of that audit report?
Well, the decision to target the former chief administrator who have just retired and the season of her devices will probably be one of the lane they think they will have access to this report. Because if you listen to the Prime Minister's statement in the Parliament, and when he speaks to the whole issue of surrounding the suspension of Mr. Toppin and the appointment of a chief administrator, he spoke with a certain degree of passion about the chief administrator then issuing the letter to the head of the Service Commission the day when she was about to demit office that led to the suspension of Mr. Toppin. And the fact that the chief secretary would have said that he had sent a copy of the findings to the chief administrator who would have looked at it and made a decision to lay charges against Mr. Toppin. So apparently there may be a line of continuum there that speaks to that the report may be available on one of the devices of the then chief administrator, and probably that is one way of making an attempt of retrieving or looking at that report. But at the end of the day, I think that the report will be sent to all the law enforcement community because we want to see how they will react to the kinds of findings that are embedded in the report, to see their independence, to see their commitment to law and order, to see how they will react to this kind of development, and whether they will go and search the homes of other persons who are named.
Excellent. And unfortunately, that is all the time that we have this morning. Guys, I want to thank you for tuning in. Thank you for sharing this live. Thank you for commenting. And be sure to share it, continue to share it live, because we want a lot of people to be able to connect and catch up with what this discussion was. Go back, listen it from the top, and make your own assessment. But as I said earlier, there may really be the need for me to sit on the side of Mr. Richards tomorrow, because I too believe that there are questions that I should be answering. Guys, see you next time, and thank you for staying tuned to Tobago Updates and making us the #1 broadcaster on the island of Tobago. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wake up with Candace and Denise. Let's go. It's a brand new morning. Rise up to a brand new dawning. As the passion start to rise, the energy fill the skies. I say thanks for favor to wake up and hear me neighbor. 60,000 people strong.